What's good, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by DistroKid. They are the go-to for digital music distribution and the easiest way for musicians to get their music onto Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, and more. They offer unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of their earnings, getting your music onto platforms and into stores 10 to 20 times faster than any other distributor. They help with cover song clearance, automatic splits, and they offer all kinds of tools and templates to help you get the most visibility for your releases. I dig this company and appreciate their business model that offers more features and tools than any other distributor while doing it at the most affordable price for solo artists, bands, DJs, studio artists, and any other creators that are making music or producing music in their home, and they offer label services as well. They've got 3 different tiers that they offer to creators that start as low as $22.99 a year. That's just $1.92 a month. And even their top tier is only $7.50 per month. And the best part about DistroKid sponsoring the podcast is they are offering Dan Cable Presents listeners 30% off their first year of service with DistroKid, making their affordable prices even cheaper for you. I will put that discount link in the episode notes. It will also be in my Instagram bio. Big shout out to DistroKid for sponsoring this podcast for more than 3 years now. Much appreciated. Now let's get into the episode.
Look down at the
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dan Cable Presents podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the program. Once again, if this is your first time listening, thanks for checking out the show. You can find episodes coming at you on Tuesdays. And if you want to help support this thing in a free way, you can do so by clicking subscribe on iTunes, clicking write a review, giving the podcast 5 stars if you feel like it is deserving of so. And that will help propel this thing into the tops of those iTunes charts, giving it more visibility on the national and international levels, helping strangers find the podcast. Just a great way to contribute to the growth and sustainability of this thing. If you're not listening on Apple, just hit like, follow, subscribe wherever you are listening from. Tell a friend about the podcast, and hit subscribe if you're watching there on the old Primetime Cable YouTube channel. Hope everybody is doing well out there. This week on the podcast, Vin Picone is on the show, owner of Picone's Quality Deli in North Portland, banging food cart, where Vin is just making these killer sandwiches. This was a spot that people kept putting on my radar when I was looking for more tuna sandwiches in the city, and went over there, tried this one. It does not disappoint. It is one of the heavy hitters in the scene. And I've also since had the Italian sandwich over there at Picone's, which is the flagship of the cart. And the first time I went through, Vin was just very personable with me and gave me a lot of information about what he was doing in the cart, baking bread in the cart for the sandwiches. And we've kept up with each other ever since. So I invited him to jump on the mics with me, come through the studio, and talk to me about the inspiration for starting Picone's Quality Deli, and just his takes on food. And it was our first proper hang, and I just had a great time getting to chat with him and getting to know him through this conversation. Can't encourage people enough to go take a trip over to Vin's cart over there in North Portland, see what they've got going on. Links for Picone's Quality Deli will be in the episode notes. Don't want to waste too much time up top, as this was a lengthy chat with Vin. We could have talked for a couple hours more, I think, and maybe we will one day. But just want to mention that my monthly music series, Sunday Coffee, is going down April 13th. It is the second installment. Also want to thank everybody that came out to the first one and made it a successful thing. These are intimate live recordings going on at Clay Street Studios. It might rotate here and there venue-wise, but for the most part, we're trying to do them all at Clay Street Studios over in Southeast Portland. There's only 35 tickets available for these. Like I said, intimate live recording, seated show, coffee is provided. They're all ages. And this next one, my buddy Jacob Miller, great singer-songwriter, is playing this next one. So ticket link will be in the episode notes. Trying to build community with these performances and just trying to do something outside of the normal traditional music venue spaces, trying to do something early in the day. They're noon to 2, and something that's not going to get in the way of your other Sunday plans or make you feel like you got to go to a show late night on a Sunday when maybe you got work on Monday morning. So no excuses, for this one. It's a noon to 2 thing. It's all ages, and April 13th, come through. Check it out. And with all that, we are going to get into this thing with my guy, Vin Picone, episode 441. Now let's do the damn thing.
Pronunciation correct. There's no ill will against those who want to say Picones. I'll never correct them. But we've been saying Picone since I was born.
Yeah.
Since my dad was born.
Yeah. It's the family name.
Yeah.
You know how to say it.
Right.
I was one of those people. I fucked it up when I did the tuna boy. And in retrospect, after I had done it, I was like, why did I say it like that? It doesn't even make sense. Stoked to have you on. And, I'm a fan of the sandwiches over there at Picone's, holding down the sandwich game for the North. I don't know who's out there with you in North Portland.
Well, there's 2 of us a mile west doing breakfast sandwiches at the beer porches.
Okay.
And they've been selling breakfast sandwiches long before I even lived in the neighborhood. And they rock. They're we do a little different. We kind of do the unfussy, you're getting one of 3 or 4 sandwiches. If you want a vegetarian sandwich, it's an egg and cheese. You know? And Jess is chefing up creations on the daily, doing meatloaf, egg and cheese with gravy and hash browns on an everything bun and just really wild stuff. But that's not what you want every morning when you're hungover on a Tuesday. Sometimes you just want a dirty, greasy $8 bacon, egg, and cheese with a little bit of attitude.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Trying to think of who put me on to your spot, but I do feel like it was once I started doing the Tuna Boy thing and I started asking for people's recommendations, somebody definitely slid into my DMs about Picones, and they were like, this tuna over here might be the truth. And I was like, okay, let's go see what's going on over there. And yeah, man, just a top notch, a bar setter over there.
If anybody who tunes into the podcast and remembers sliding into the DMs, free bag of chips for sure. Come on by.
Deserving of a free bag of chips at the
Absolutely.
very least. I also just I don't know. I got to talk with you a little bit that day that I came through to get my tuna sandwich, and you just seem like a nice dude, and down to earth, and also down to chat about what you are doing there, which
thanks,
is
dude.
really nice to have a personable encounter when you I don't know, when you like something. It's like a band.
It's a very kind thing to say. It's not everybody's experience for sure. There's, yeah, I think I was mentioning it to you the other week, you can tell when somebody's passionate, when somebody cares about what they're doing. And it's easy to kind of head into that. And it's easy for me to get excited about that for somebody oh, you see, we're really trying hard here. Let me tell you a little bit more, if you like it, if you're thinking about liking it, here's some more information to better educate your decision on it. And those interactions just, they make a difference in my day. And I love it. I love it so much. And then there's people who are why can't I get mayonnaise on my bacon, egg, and cheese? It's like, because I put the mayonnaise away and it's not on the menu. You can't have mayonnaise on your bacon, egg, and cheese. And they just get pissy about it. It's like, it's an $8 sandwich on fresh baked bread. Like, if you don't like the sandwich without mayonnaise, this isn't the sandwich for you. I don't know what to tell you.
The place for you.
Yeah, like, sorry. Go on down to McDonald's or something.
Have you ever been to Basilisk in Portland, the chicken sandwich place?
No.
I think I'm saying it correctly.
No, I'm unfamiliar with it.
It's over off Sandy, and very simple menu. I think they have a regular chicken sandwich and a hot chicken sandwich.
I'm in.
And maybe one other thing that is that same chicken, just not in sandwich form. But there is a clear sign from what I remember that says no substitutions,
hell yeah.
No
Respect.
customizing going on.
Oh, I love that so
over
much.
here,
Yeah.
which I respect. It's like I do want to experience the thing you put on the menu the way you put it on the menu.
There's, definitely an attention to that should be paid. Like, whoever's making the food for you, like, you think you know what you want, but like, if that's what you want, go make it yourself. Here you are. You came to this place. You buy it or don't, In or out.
Yeah. What are your gripes with mayonnaise?
You
think it's like
I
just
don't
like
love
a
it.
cover up?
I just don't love it. It's just, I don't know. It can do things to a sandwich. Like, it doesn't, it's like an easy win. It's like, it doesn't actually enhance the flavor or like pair with anything. It's like anything you're doing is now just like a turkey sandwich, but now it's just a turkey sandwich with mayonnaise, and it's like cheating kind of. Obviously we have mayonnaise in our cart, and like, people ask how they should order the sandwich, and I tell them like oil, vinegar, and mayonnaise is pretty normal. It's like, oh, make it how you want to make it. And like, I never would. Everybody's getting oil, vinegar, and mayo because like, I know everybody loves mayo. I understand that.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that.
You told me that the other day when I was like, yeah, just give me the Italian the way you would make it. And you're like, well, I would do it with no mayo, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that mayo on for you.
But there were like, growing up in New Jersey and like going to like Jersey City and Hoboken and like, into the more metropolitan areas where like the real delis are, they don't even have mayonnaise. Like,
Yeah.
Or like if somebody ordered mayonnaise, they'd like go over to the special fridge, pull out like a tiny little pint jar of Hellman's mayo and like use a butter knife and put it on the sandwich and put it back like it was a big ordeal. And it's like,
Yeah.
because not everybody's ordering mayonnaise. That's just what it was, So, maybe I just never developed a taste for it. Never developed a dependency on it like so many people have.
Yeah.
But if people like mayonnaise, they'll get mayonnaise, except on a chicken parm. I've had a couple people ask for a mayonnaise on chicken parm. Like, there's a hard line there. That's
You won't allow it.
not this week, not this month, not ever. It's just no way.
But there has to be mayo on the tuna.
For sure.
because
It's
of
like
the,
it's
the
tuna
mixture
salad. Yeah.
that you are making.
Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah. For like, so like those sandwiches, yeah, sure. It's like, throw it on there. But like, if it's, so like we do a lot of kind of one-offs, just based on what we have fresh. Like, we sell a decent enough, we're fortunate enough to sell a decent enough volume to like rotate through inventory pretty quickly. So like if we bring in a leg of prosciutto, like we'll be done with it in like a couple services. So we'll make fresh mozzarella, do like roasted peppers, get some good local arugula, really nice imported olive oil, all that sort of stuff. And then, somebody says like, hey, can I get mayo on it? It's like, I'll try and talk them out of it. And then, if they say they really want mayo on it, I might forget. But like, but it's just like, try it without mayo. Like you probably haven't had this iteration of sandwich, or like, the way that we want to express these ingredients. And like I said, like, it's just what I am extremely familiar with, and there's no mayo on it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're almost like conditioned to think it's weird to not have mayonnaise on a sandwich, right? So like
Mustard's the other big one. That's the one that, like, it's easy to tell when somebody's like, "Oh, I'll take the Italian with pickles and mustard on it." It's like, we don't have either of those things, Chief. We could do oil, vinegar, and mayo, and that's kind of like my compromise. But then, like, you know, like, dudes will stop by, people will stop by, and like, "Oh, I'll just take the sandwich, oil, vinegar, no mayo." It's like, "You don't put mustard on it, do you?" It's like, "Of course we don't put mustard on it. Where are you from?" You know? And then they come back and they're like, "Oh, that was great. I loved it. I'll be back every week." And they come back regularly now.
is that like just another East Coast Jersey thing that you just like don't see the mustard come out on sandwiches?
I think I guess, I don't know. Like, it obviously there's places with mustard for, like, mustard has its application. But if you're doing the work and like importing a nice salami and like a nice sharp provolone, you're not putting mustard on it. Nobody's benefiting from mustard on that sandwich. It's just like, that's all you're going to taste. You're going to miss all the nuance of the nice cheese, all the like the floral notes of a really good salami. Just, go eat at Subway if you need mustard.
You're just eliminating.
Like, not to be an elitist. I don't want to be an elitist about it. It's just, we don't have any mustard. That's kind of half the reason why.
Yeah. You obviously don't think it's benefiting the sandwiches that you're making. Like, you think it's taking away from the experience.
It's like, I want to refrain from this note, and this might get edited out, but like, I honestly think mustard's a bit of a flavor Nazi. Like, it comes in, it takes charge. Now everything's kind of in line behind the mustard. It's just like, all right, now we're this, and everything tastes like mustard.
I think that's fair, Yeah.
And
I'm somebody that enjoys mustard on things, but I think,
we're
the wrong amount of it.
We're so against Nazis in the cart that, like, even flavor Nazis out, just hard out. That's not getting served here.
Nazi mustards, fuck off.
Hell yeah.
That's amazing, dude. Any other strong condiment opinions?
I mean,
those are obviously the ones that come up the most making sandwiches, I would assume.
Yeah, like, of course I have strong opinions about sandwiches. That's like what I'm building my life around now. But as whether or not they matter, as long as people are getting what they want, that's like obviously our focus. And like, we just try and do it in a way that's like very intense and focused and like deliberate. So like, oil and vinegar, you could get like oil and vinegar from Freddy's, but like, we've selected what we feel like is the best red wine vinegar. And like, vinegar is a whole thing. Like, people don't even know that it's a fermented product. Like, they know that it comes from wine, but there's a whole world of vinegars and tasting vinegars that do things and make things taste different. And like, the red wine vinegar we use in the cart took a while for us to find. So it's like what we feel like is the right one for the sandwich. And then like, we shell out big bucks on our olive oil. Like, we could be charging more for this olive oil, but we don't. It's like $50 a gallon. And like, we put a good amount on each sandwich. And like, it just, people don't realize that, like, when they come back and say like, "Oh, that was an incredible sandwich," it's like, it's just really good olive oil. Like, you may have never had like really good olive oil before, and like, go ahead and dabble, go ahead and get the, don't get ripped off at Freddy's and just start spending willy-nilly. Like, go to a good place like Cowbell, where they have like 50 different olive oils on the shelf, and the staff at Cowbell can tell you everything about each one.
What's Cowbell? I'm not familiar.
Oh, you don't know Cowbell?
No.
Oh.
Put me on, man.
Oh man, you should have Cowbell in here. They're an importer in Southeast by Produce Row, over by Wayfinder, Olympia Provisions, and that. and they're primarily a cheesemonger. So they have like this incredible cheese selection from around the world. I believe Greg, the owner, goes out independently to these farms and checks out producers and dairies and brings their product in. He's very well educated in cheese, and his team, his staff, they work for Greg, so they're not amateurs. They're not putzes. Like they are very passionate about cheese. I want to say his name is Sam, and I could be mistaken about this, but I believe that he's won the second best cheesemonger in the world recently. So like the second best cheesemonger in the world lives in Portland. So like that's cool.
Absolutely.
And like he's selling cheese at Cowbell. So like that says something about Cowbell.
Yeah.
And there was actually a point in time where Portland actually hosted the best cheesemonger in the world. I believe his name was Steve Jones. And that's about all I know about the history of the best cheesemongers of the world.
But the oil and the vinegar are intentionally chosen and important to these sandwiches that you're making.
Like it all matters. So like not just the condiments. Like if you're gonna shell out, $50 a gallon on a nice olive oil, you might as well get a good ham for it, and then like get a good salami for it. Like you might as well just do it all the best you can.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the standing opinion, like the philosophy that we take to making sandwiches. So like when it's just like a chicken parm, it's just like a chicken cutlet, sauce and cheese, but everything is very intentional with it.
Where did these philosophies come from? Like where did you develop your vision, I guess, for opening up this food cart? Were you pretty interested in cooking even as a kid?
So I've always had some interest, like a sincere interest with food as a kid, and never really pursued the cooking chef lifestyle. I had a cook as a line job in my late teens, but like never saw it as a viable way to make a living.
Yeah.
So like pursued a different career for a while. I was in traveling sales. I was a traveling O-ring salesman when I came to Portland, which is like wild hearing myself say that as an adult. Like it's just what? But like I've always enjoyed cooking at home. Always enjoyed, reading a good food oriented book, like on food history, on food technique or whatever. Kind of just never let the flame go out. And then when the opportunity came around to open a food cart, it was like, guess we're doing this now.
Yeah.
It was really, really as simple as that. And then once I got into the food cart and started like making food and like meeting people and, kind of not really getting creative with it, but learning the ways that I love food is like when the intensity came. And it's like, okay, yeah, like we are only going to do this right, or like only going to do this at least the best we can. And that's when we started getting serious about, our opinions on things.
Yeah. I would imagine it's like you kind of need those to operate in that way.
Yeah.
What like sent you in the direction of opening up a food cart after moving here?
It was like a little bit of serendipity, a little bit of luck, and like a whole lot of burnout. I was working like my full-time job in my career, in my sales career. That was, I took a risk late career, and the risk wasn't panning out like financially or fulfillment wise. So yeah, just I started taking other part-time jobs because I needed to, paying rent. And one of the jobs that I took was at the Chill and Fill, where the food cart actually is.
Okay.
As a beer tender, and like just passionate about beer, and like not even realizing it, but like this is kind of the one of the seeds that was like, I really do love this. Why can't I? But like serving beer to people, like hearing about what they want, and it's like, oh, try this one, try that one. This other beer is gonna have more of these flavors or whatever, and just like the production of beer, all that sort of stuff fascinated me, and like, realizing that I enjoyed that was kind of like it was something I learned, in my early 30s. It was just like, oh, like I had no idea I would have enjoyed this so much.
Yeah.
And worked there for maybe a year or so, and I learned that they were building the food cart pod. So kind of like before all of that, for like the past 5 or 10 years, my brother and I have always dreamt about like, oh, let's just do it. Let's just open a deli. Like no plan, no like real, like this is what you do, like what you talk about during the holidays when there's nothing else to talk about. It's like, yeah, our deli would do this, that, and like we'll do this better than everybody else. So like there was always that kind of conversation being had. And when the food cart opportunity came around, like I mentioned it to my brother Ray, and it was like it got a little more serious, but it was still not like, all right, let's pony up and do this.
Yeah.
What really sealed the deal, what like changed kind of the needle of like, this could be a thing, or like now we're doing this, was I just mentioned it to my girlfriend that like, this opportunity came up. We have this thing. My brother and I have always been talking about it. And like, I don't even think I mentioned to her, like she knew that I enjoyed cooking and food and all that, but like told her, like, I think we're going to do a food cart. And she was just like, yeah, do it. And it was like, okay. Like I've never thought of it like that. Like I never felt that like unwavering, unchecked support of just having somebody believe in you, following a passion. And it was just like, oh yeah. And like I think that was the moment that the wheel like turned, and like it's just been rolling since then.
Yeah, it's important to have those yes people around you, as it is important to have the naysayers, I think, at some points. But like, yeah, when you maybe bring up an idea that you feel like is maybe like a little far-fetched, or like maybe just this kind of dream, and someone's like, yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck, what?
and to be like serious about it.
Yeah.
And to feel that, like the support, and like just like to have somebody stand up for what you believe in so hard. It's just like, oh shit. Yeah. Cool. Incredible.
Yeah. What was it about the sandwiches, or like the deli environment that you and your brother always kind of were scheming about? Like, why sandwiches?
Here's the now I'm gonna get pinned as an elitist again. Like I'm doing my best to not. But like, it's very much a trope that like, you move out of the tri-state area, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. I don't even think Pennsylvania should be in the tri-state area, but that's like a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
But like you're gonna have to say goodbye to like bagels, pizza, Italian American food, and like good sandwiches in general. And like it was like, all right, whatever. I moved out of New Jersey in my mid-20s, lived in Denver for a while, and was like, oh, they were absolutely serious. Like I cannot find a good slice of pizza. All of this bread is just like on hot dog rolls. What the frick, man? Like this is but like I came to terms with it. I just came to peace with like, well, like the barbecue is really good, or like, they do Mexican food like I've never had before. Like this is the best breakfast burrito I'll ever have in my life. But like sandwiches just weren't happening. And like this is Denver, 10 years ago. And they've since upped their game. Like you can get good sandwiches in Denver now. But the lack of just like, I don't know, deli experience was like, is this an opportunity? Like would an Italian American like quick service style working person's lunch deli thrive? Like would it survive? That's always kind of been the void that we would like to fill, is the no frills kind of, what they have, it's going to be fine. You can get it on a lunch break sort of place,
Yeah, and there's only a few items on the menu, kind of thing.
Or
Focus
like
in
a changing menu, but like basically it's a place that like when you go there, you don't have to look at the menu. You already know what you want.
Yeah,
and like that they're gonna have it.
Yeah,
that's or like you've heard about the special, and like your friend tells you to get the special on Thursdays or whatever it is. That's what like I've always envisioned that we would like to go for. But to answer the question simply, it's like fill in a void. Like there's sandwich shops, there's plenty of sandwich shops, but like you go to the Taste Tickler and they have like 100 sandwiches. It's just like, oh man, what do I want? Like this is too much. Or like if you go to some other places, they're just like really fancied up, which is great and awesome, and like there's definitely a place for that. But like a big part of what I've modeled the deli and like our menu around is truthfully my parents. Like my dad was a truck driver and my mom a school teacher, an educator, and like I think about them a lot when I'm making a sandwich. Is like, would they have access to this sandwich? Would they be able to like check out on a lunch break or whatever? Or, are they going to get intimidated by an ingredient? Like, because like they're pretty simple eaters, but like they were working people. They worked really hard. They worked their asses off to raise me, my brother, and my sister. And it's like, that's who I feel like is maybe a little bit of an underserved market, because everybody's going for, the smoked salt, banana pepper, blistered aioli on like lengua, whatever.
Something that's like elevated.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I love a lot of that food. I eat a lot of that food. But would Betty and Ray order it, is what I ask myself. Like, can they get this? And like when they show up to the deli and like knowing that they only have like a 45 minute lunch break, can I still make a fair transaction with them? Because like I said, like a truck driver and an educator, if we didn't grow up well off, so to say. Like we were taken care of for sure, but going out to lunch was like a treat, like you packed your lunch a lot. So if they were going out to lunch, like it's got to be good, it's got to be nice, it has to be affordable, and like basically they got to get back to work pretty quickly. So like
can't sit around for 20 minutes waiting for your sandwich to be made.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room for the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of focusing on that and taking our deli towards that direction, I think is striking a chord with a lot of people, has struck a chord with a lot of people, because like they kind of get it, they see it, and then they come back for it, which is like, that's what's most important to me, is like, hey, you liked it. I love that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely knew I would be returning after having my first sandwich there. And then having my second sandwich there, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna keep coming back. I want to keep, telling people about this spot, especially if it's like in their neighborhood, because I do feel like that's like that's part of our Portland thing is like people get pretty locked into their neighborhoods or their regions of the city sometimes, so it's always nice when something is when nearby, when you find like this gem that's in your neighborhood, because for some people, if they live in, Selwood or something, deep southeast, they're probably not really like thinking about coming to, North Lombard to go get a sandwich. But if you tell them about it, or it's just like not on their radar,
Being on the radar is something that I think I wouldn't say intentionally avoided, but like it's been a little bit of a strategy, because, like I said, a lot of people come back for sandwiches. A lot of people walk to the cart, and, I'm on a first name basis with so many people. Like I'll go to Freddy's and I'll see some regulars, and it's cool. Like it's awesome. And I love that so much more than I didn't even identify this as like a goal in creating the deli, but like now that it's there, like I am, it's a priority to protect that.
Yeah.
And to like, to like be there for the people who, stopped by the first week, and like I had to explain to them, like, I don't really know what I'm doing. The bread didn't proof. Here's a loaf of a brick. And like they still came back the next week and were like, dude, just keep doing it. Like you're doing your thing. This is great. We love having you here. Like you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like I see that and I acknowledge that, and now it's just like holding up my end of the bargain. And like we've been doing this to the point where like I feel like we're okay. Like we're not running out of gas at the end of the day anymore. Like we've increased production since then. We've increased our menu, our offerings. Like reliability is a pretty high rating for us right now. Like we haven't sold out in a while, knock on wood.
Yeah.
And we have plans, to deal with that. So like, I feel good about like getting on the radar now, and like being like, I've got the neighborhood covered. We'll be all right. If like anybody wants to stop by and like, not wait 20 minutes for a sandwich because like we've figured it out. Like we could still serve them.
Yeah.
We could accommodate people who just want to check it out. And like if they want to come up from Selwood or Belmont or, like we have people who come in from like Beaverton or Tualatin.
Yeah.
And like you just want one sandwich and like that's it, that's cool. You're gonna get the same service and experience level that I feel like I can offer the people who got us here.
Yeah.
And like if I wasn't able to do that, we'd be talking over beers.
Did you have a pretty good idea from the jump what was going to be the staples of this menu?
Yeah. Even talking to like my food vendors, like the people who wholesale food to me, I was telling them what I was trying to do. And like each and every one of them said, like, big shout out to Columbia Meats. Not that anybody else can buy from them, but they're super great dudes. But like they even said like, yeah, nobody's doing like a good Italian. Like you can get like Italian cold cuts here, there. Like this place is doing like a fancy, sandwich, but like we're not going there for lunch, So yeah, the Italian, I always kind of had an eye on being like the flagship, I guess. And then, do you know Bill Oakley?
I do.
Yeah, Bill Oakley's the fucking man. Like
He seems like a cool dude.
He is like within the top 10. But he and like this is even before this happened, but Bill runs the Steamed Ham Society, which is like a foodie organization sort of thing. And, you know, Bill's out there trying foods and like trying snack foods, trying fast food items. But he has like the local Steamy Awards that he hands out every year to like, you know, local business owners who are just creating a product that Bill thinks is worthy of a Steamy. And we got a Steamy Award for the Italian the first year. And like, I was just over the moon. Like there was no award that mattered more to me than the Steamy. Like any write-up, any article, like I would not be nearly as jazzed about it as like still like we won a Steamy this year too. And it was just like, oh, this is the best day ever. This is
that
incredible.
For the breakfast sandwich?
For the breakfast sandwich, yeah. So when we got the Steamy, it was like, okay, yeah, we're in. And like that's when I started getting the nice olive oil and like really making sure that everything was kind of as nice as we wanted it to, or that we can make as many as we wanted to, at the quality level that, you know, is appropriate for a $15 sandwich. And the tuna is on the menu mostly to subsidize the regulars who come by for the Italian but get sick of it and just want to try it out, you know. So like they're done with their cured meats, they need to take a beat, like they want a sandwich, but they don't want that sandwich, like it's their first love, they'll come back to it. So like they go to the tuna, and like now the tuna has to be, you know, like the tuna's not playing second fiddle. Like the tuna is like a whole nother band, and it rocks just as hard, you know. So like
it's a different experience.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. It's like, I don't know. It's almost not worth being like, well, I think the tuna is better than the Italian. It's like so different.
Yeah, we're not in the same ballpark. It's just, you know, they're two sandwiches. They do two different things, and they're both like, you know, in our opinion, of the highest reasonable quality that we can make them if we want to make a whole bunch of sandwiches during the lunch hour.
Yeah,
you know, and we just got really lucky with our tuna supplier. I don't know if I told you like the whole story about the tuna supplier. There's not much. Like his name's Jeff.
Yeah,
and like that's
just a dude.
That's the supplier.
Yeah,
he's got a boat. He gets his tuna canned down near Bandon. There's like a whole bunch of small micro brands that will come out of the same cannery, because like that's what you do if you live on the coast and you have a tuna boat, is like you can tuna and then you sell it. But like I send Jeff an email every now and then. It's like, ready for another couple of cases. He's like, great, thanks for the order, Vin. And then like I don't hear from him from a couple of days. It's like, sorry, I was at sea. It's like,
out on the boat.
It's all good, man. And like truly the tuna is like, I really wish I brought you a can. But like the tuna on its own, like it's solid. It's great. It's just delicious tuna.
Yeah.
We just add mayonnaise, celery, and onion to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, dang.
Did you explore with a lot of different tunas before you found Jeff?
Not tunas. I did explore, because I've been eating that tuna for a while.
Okay.
Had I had found another tuna of like comparable quality and comparable reliability, like maybe, but you know, a lot of what I've learned is like a lot of food production and food supply, and like this is on the same side as the vendors, is like they just don't want to get jerked around, you know. And like as a food cart, I just don't want to get jerked around. So like when you're finding and building that relationship, you just, when you have one, you lock it in, you know, and you don't really try and goof it up. So I really feel like Jeff has a special product, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, I feel like there's something about something being limited in some way that's kind of cool. Like if you run out, it's because the dude you are getting it from is the fisherman.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know?
Like, but like when you make your living off of food, that's not the goal. Like, and that's not our goal as like consumers of, you know, the food industry. Like, the food industry is designed to never run out, and like they pretty much figured it out. They just do other things really, really horribly, like deforestation or waste or like whatever, like all that sort of stuff, you know. But if you want to be a food supplier, you should at least acknowledge that, like, you know, unless you're doing something incredibly special, like meticulously handcrafted goods, you know, that like truly are an art. You know, that's like a different dining concept in and of itself. But like, if you're just trying to feed people, you know, you have to acknowledge that, like, you want to maintain a supply. So like, Jeff's doing his best to not run out. I'm doing my best to not run out, and like, you know, getting the hang of it.
Yeah.
So it, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, we don't exploit scarcity, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're not trying to say, like, this is a special, unique thing, come and get it before it's out. Like, we're trying to say, relax, there's good food here, quality is achievable, it's for sale.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. When you're working in the cart and you're like developing like whatever that menu item is going to be for the day, or do you feel like you're tapping into creativity with this whole endeavor?
When I am tapping into creativity, I try and be really conscious of it, because what I would prefer would be to tap more into nostalgia. I feel like we're not going to invent a sandwich anytime soon that's going to be, you know, groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But like, what we do have a good chance, like, even if it is like a creative item, what we do have a good chance of doing, I feel like, is like creating a memory for somebody, and they'll be able to, you know, possess that feeling for whatever they, you know, if it, as long as it's good, you know, like, and kind of make like a foundational food association that, you know, sticks with them. Like, whether it's they were out with their friends or they were out with their family and they just, like, they tried this new thing that they've never had before, you know, that sort of stuff I feel like sticks.
Yeah.
So I'm more focused on that than trying to be like creative and new. Or like, you know, another one is a lot of people who are familiar with the food that we're like, the type of food that we make will say, like, I haven't had a sandwich like that in, you know, who knows how long. And it just like made me think of all these things. And like, I can attest to that. So like on our breakfast rolls, we call them hard rolls or Kaiser rolls. It's, you know, it's a hard roll. It's a round portion of bread with poppy seeds on it. And growing up, you know, like Saturday mornings, or like if I was working with my father, there's always like the coffee stop first thing in the morning at like 6 a.m. And like, you get a coffee and a buttered roll. And then, you know, you just like chow down on the buttered roll, drink your coffee, get to work, get to wherever you're going. But it's like, you know, like back then it was like $1 or like $2 or whatever. But a couple weeks ago, I take a batch of hard rolls out of the oven, and like, I saw I had some butter in the fridge, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. So like, I made myself a buttered roll for the first time in like, I don't know, it like 25 years, like, who knows? And brother, it hit so goddamn hard. Like, I cannot explain.
Hell yeah.
Like, everything. It was just like I like remembered jobs that my dad had that, like, you know, were just buried in there. And it's like, yeah, wow, this is a trip, you know?
Yeah.
And like, that's just like, if it wasn't for like all of the buttered rolls I ate as a kid, and like, you know, I wouldn't have those tethers in there.
Yeah.
And like, I don't care who you are. You didn't invent the buttered roll. Like, you know, like anybody, like there's no deli that invented it. There's no gas. Like the buttered roll is just a buttered roll. It's like, it's such a common food,
Yeah.
you know? But thank goodness somebody's making them.
Yeah. As far as, you know, tapping into that nostalgia and trying to find avenues to it, do you think that's also a part of simplicity, like keeping things relatively simple? Or even what you were talking about when you were talking about, like, I want to make food that like would resonate with my parents, like no frills, you know, just what they would expect out of an Italian sandwich, or, you know, said thing is a lot of that. Because, like, I don't know, the sandwiches I've had from your spot, it's not like a crazy amount of ingredients on it. It's like just doing the ingredients right.
Yeah, I think, thanks for that. I appreciate hearing that. But I think like it's, you know, a form of communication, and, you know, all the way up to like Michelin star restaurants, it's still the same. Like there's still an expression that's coming through on a plate. And like, I choose to have ours, be relatively simple, so that it is accessible by as many people, you know? And like, I love it when people have no idea what we're doing, and they're just like, cool, it's an Italian sub, do it up, whatever you want. Like, I've had an Italian sub. I've had the Italian sub from Blimpie or whatever. And
Blimpies.
and then like they have the sandwich, and, you know, like, I'm not trying to float my own feathers. Like, this is something I'm extremely proud of, though. And like, it's not because, you know, I made them what they think is the best sandwich they've ever had. It's like, I was able to connect with this person. Like, I was able to, you know, take what I'm doing very seriously, and have the output of this be, you know, appreciation, gratitude, just acknowledgement of like we're both thrilled, you know? It's just like, it's the greatest feeling when that happens. And I don't, you know, for whatever reason, I don't feel like that comes through as cleanly when it's like a $75 scallop dish, you know?
No, because there's a lot that comes along with knowing you're dropping $75.
Fair,
I
yeah.
feel like, too, you know? I think that
Totally.
there's like, I don't know what you're expecting at that point, but you're expecting it to be worth that $75. So when a $15 sandwich like fucking hits you in the heart,
Yeah.
and you walk away with like a smile, and you're just fucking glazed over, you're just like, God damn, dude. I'm so stoked I only ate half of that, so I get to enjoy the other half later. Or,
Yeah,
you know, like
that's-
there is something special about that. Or like, yeah, it's always a bummer when you go out to some fine dining experience and kind of like wish that you would have just gotten like the fucking greasy cheeseburger at your favorite burger joint instead.
The amount of times I feel like I've been ripped off eating out is like, you know, it shies me away from eating out. It's like, how are you getting away with this? And like, I understand people need to make their living, and like, you want to pay your employees well, and like,
Yeah.
you know, everybody deserves a livable wage, sure, but like, you know, if this is what you're going to serve, do something else. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, I don't know. That's like the turn off from fancy dining, and like even elevated dining for me is like, there's the expectation for it now, I feel, you know, like, you can't just go out and get like a good pizza which is like a wild thing to say in Portland because you absolutely can go out and get just a good pizza in a lot of places. But like, you know, you're more likely to find like a pizza with some wild combination of toppings that's like, you know, what about just like a plain slice, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
like
why
who's
can't-
doing that right?
Yeah.
Who's doing just the cheese?
Oh,
Yeah.
Lombardo's.
I mean,
but Lombardo's is doing it right.
I like, I fuck with the pizza in this city like pretty hard. I think we're like,
Oh, who's doing it
spoiled.
right for
I think
you?
we're spoiled.
Oh, we absolutely are. Like I said, like there is a lot
But
of good pizza. But
This is like not even. Man, I don't want to like call anybody out. I certainly won't let you, because you have a business to uphold. But I think it's along that points of, you know, just putting fancy toppings on something like doesn't make it good, you know? And it's like, I've been to Lovely 50/50s a few times.
Okay, sure.
And I fuck with their pizza.
Yeah.
But I have had also like some pizzas there that were kind of a miss for me, where I was just like, damn, I don't know if like this elevated thing was like, and maybe that's just like my own palate for it, but it just like didn't.
So I think I'll stick up for Lovely's here and like say that, you know, when you're at that caliber and like you're making these incredible recipes, and like Gracie's in St. John's is doing the same thing, where they're getting pretty wild with it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, when you're executing at that high of a level and like you have a miss, like it was a miss for you. Like it landed somewhere.
Absolutely.
And like, you know, like they go into these like kind of like more untraditional recipes fully acknowledging that. And that's like, maybe that's just a sort of bravery that I simply don't possess, which is why I'm like, nah, I'll just put mayonnaise on there.
And for sure, like I said, like I've had plenty of food at Lovely's that has blown my mind.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. So like I don't put those in the, like I don't put Gracie's so much in the pizza world either. I put it in like the dining out experience, which is
like
still
that,
scores.
That Ken's artisan
very, very high
thing, you know. It's like, but as far as like pizza that I ride hard for that is more accessible at any time, like maybe slices, like Baby Doll is my.
I've heard good things about them.
Yeah. Go get some Baby Doll, man.
Yeah. All right.
Baby Doll rules.
I've always been a huge fan of Scotty's.
Scotty's
is
lights
like,
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scotty's is very banging.
The first time I had Scotty, like I think Scotty's was like the first pizza that I had since moving out of New Jersey, where it's just like, I'm gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be just fine. Like there is pizza out here.
Yeah, they got the small pepperonis that curl up.
Gosh.
And,
everything about it's just so perfect. And like it is like it's still like a little bit, you know, their own thing. Like I can't think of a place near where I grew up where I would be able to get pizza like that. But like I could think of a lot of places way shittier, you know, that like I would never want to go to if like Scotty's was available.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I feel like I can go on like a little pizza tour here. You know, go get a slice at some places and.
Oh, isn't that the dream?
Yeah. But
Have you tried Pizza Creature up in St. John's?
No.
It's a food cart. It
Okay.
is it's just like it's one of my favorite pizza experiences in Portland.
Okay.
It's wood-fired pizza. It's like you go there, they're super busy. They take your order. 15 minutes later you get a pizza.
Hell yeah.
And like that's exactly what I want for a pizza experience. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't need the riff-raff. I don't need the sidelines. Like, it's like, oh, you got a pepperoni?
Yeah.
I'll take one of those,
Yeah.
please. And like the pizza is excellent. It's
I mean,
very, very good.
That's usually what I want to like try first anyways. It's like let's see what you can do with like a cheese or a pepperoni pizza
yeah.
before we start exploring
Yeah.
maybe some of these wilder options.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They don't get too wild with it. Like they're all pretty usual suspects on the menu.
Yeah.
Like they have a pizza that has arugula on it, which, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like a white pie, mushroom pie. They're all exactly what you would expect.
One of the coolest things that I think that you were doing out of the cart is that you are making your own bread.
Every day.
What
Yeah.
inspired you to go that route, and like what are the challenges and like rewards of doing that, I guess?
So the thing that made me make my own bread was the supply of good artisan bread. Like in order to have the bread that we want to serve, it would be very expensive. It would be prohibitively expensive. So making our own bread and bringing production in-house was a way to maintain our margin and our sale price.
Yeah.
Which I feel like, I don't want to pat myself too hard on the back. Like this is the second time I'm doing it though, which whatever. But like
Twice in an hour is not bad.
yeah, no, it's twice in an hour. I'm cutting back. Good
Hey,
for me.
I invited you here to celebrate what you're doing, so you go ahead and you give yourself some flowers.
I feel like, and I don't know this for certain, and if there are other companies out there, other food companies that are doing this, then like, speak up for yourselves. But like, we're pretty proud of our prices. We're like, we're coming in affordable. We're coming in at a high value. And like, I can't think of a lot of places that serve an $8 bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, let alone on fresh baked bread. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I think Dawnbringer is our next closest neighbor in North Portland, and their prices are fair. Like, they're very good, and they bake their own bread too, and they're doing fancy sandwiches. And you should absolutely hit up Dawnbringer. But I like make people recognize that when they order a sandwich, and like, if I feel like they're having maybe a subpar experience, it's like, yeah, well, you can't get this anywhere else. It's an $8 breakfast sandwich and you got it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
To try and kind of like get them to realize what we're doing. Like we're not going for Michelin stars. We're trying to make as many of these sandwiches as we can. And like, we're not going to be painting our yacht anytime soon, like until we can make hundreds of these sandwiches a day. Like we're not walking away with a bag full of money like every day. But that was part of the inspiration of learning how to make bread. Was like quality control all around the board, including the quality of price that we can offer to our customers. And the guy who has shown me the most about making bread, his name's Pat. He is the brewer at Ilk Brewing, Washington brewery out of Olympia. They make great beer, unsurprisingly, but he was one of the beacons of like, you can do itness early on. We went to a pop-up of his in Seattle. He was doing burgers, carbon pop-up.
Okay.
And like, he made his own bread, and like, it was just the dude like lugging around a flat top making burgers for people. And if you know anything about Pat, like, he is a deliberate person, like he learns everything he can. He wants to like really hone in on his craft and be proficient at what he does. And like, he takes the time to where he's happy with it. And like, he does the same thing with beer. So like, his beer is very, very good. Watching him just do that and be like, all right, I'm only going to sell 20 burgers a night, but like, these 20 burgers are going to be goddamn fucking perfect.
Yeah.
And like, having one, like, it was easily like a top 3 burger for me, like right off the bat. And like, kind of acknowledging or like seeing that like, this dude's just doing what he loves. It was like a little bit of like, why why don't I reflect on that? You know, witnessing this person who's just like, you know, very serious about burgers and, you know, making a different product as far as how good it is. So like that was between that and not being able to find the bread. It was like, okay, we can, like, making our own bread is not off the table.
Yeah.
And you know, from there, Pat like just shared a whole bunch of really useful information, pointers, all of the things that you need as an amateur baker, because like, I don't know if you've ever baked, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I would assume it's why you're getting up at 4:30 every morning.
That's when I got it down pat. That's by now. But like, if you're doing something like with baking, you have to, you know, like you're gonna hydrate the dough, you're gonna let it proof, you're gonna shape it, you're gonna let it proof again, you're gonna bake. Like, you could invest anywhere between like 4 hours to like a couple of days just to learn one thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's incredibly useful to have somebody who, not to like take shortcuts, but to at least, you know, not waste all of your time like spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
And like, there's also a lot of self-learning. Like, you know, you got to read the books yourself. You got to do your own research. But like, having, like, I always refer to him in my brain as like the yeast priest. But like, having that there is just like, you know, I know I could always go to him and be like, what's up with this? And like, you know, he'll either have an opinion or like really good information.
Yeah.
You know? And both of them are just as good sometimes.
Yeah. And it's just super important when you're doing something like you're doing, or, you know, any kind of like independent endeavor. It's so sick when you have people that are willing to share information with you that is helpful, you know, and they're not like gatekeeping it from you. They're just like, yeah, I want to help you make this thing as good as it can be, you know. Like, I've had so many people in my life like that, like, especially like since moving to Portland, that are so willing to like share information with me, like, you know, even setting up all the video stuff for this podcast that I don't really like know about, but I just need it to be something that can be DIY and I can push both buttons, and, you know, people that will come through for me if I, you know, buy them a sandwich and they're like, I'll help you set all this up and, you know, answer your questions about these things when you come into, you know, troubleshooting mode or whatever.
It's a good spot to be in when you have that sort of stuff. Quick side tangent before I explain what Bastogne bread is. This is what everybody's here for. But like, there was, you know, I'd never considered myself like a totally selfish person, or like, I like helping people. I've always liked helping people. But there was a period in September where like, we were having issues with the cart. Just got back from a trip from New Jersey. I was dog shit tired. I didn't know it at the time, but I was coming down with COVID, and like, I get to the cart and I try and turn it on, and like, we don't have any fire. So like, I just make a post that we don't have fire. Sorry, I can't open today. I'm gonna be closed for a little bit. And like, I got a message in my inbox from Han, from Kim Jong Grillin.
Yeah.
And it was just like it was the smallest thing. It was just like, dude, how can I help? Let's troubleshoot this. And like, thinking about it now, like, I reflect on this still like once a week, just like how tiny of a gesture that was and how tremendous of an impact it had on me. And like, it changes how I treat people. Like, you know, I could easily picture myself like seeing a post like that and being like, oh man, that's rough, you know, thumbs up, good luck, buddy. but like you know, because like, I wouldn't for whatever reason, like the reach out and help module in my brain didn't exist until like I got that message from Han.
Yeah.
It was just like, dude, this is revelation. Like, this is huge.
Yeah.
And like, we didn't fix the problem. I needed a new regulator, but like now I see those posts and it's like, yo, dude, what's going on? Let's talk about this. And like, you know, that, like, I feel like that is maybe special to independent businesses, or maybe it really is Portland, but like, it's so fucking cool. Like, it's incredible.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Bastogne bread.
Yeah, tell me about this Bastogne bread.
The bread that we would get, like Italian bread, was like, it's crusty, it's fluffy, it's like all of these things, and I'm familiar with calling it Bastogne.
Okay.
And like, it is a thing. I can't find any history on it. There's like nothing on the web. I've even hired a food historian, Ian McKellen, to like do a deep dive, and like, there's just nothing there. So like, pretty immediately it's like, all right, well, we're going to call it Bastogne bread. Nobody could tell me it's not. So like, we have our own bread, and like, it is like, a lot of people call it a baguette, and like, sometimes I correct them, sometimes I don't, but like, a baguette is a very specific thing made with a poulish. It's done this way, and like, you got to do that to it, and you have to make sure it's this, and like, in France there's even size limitations. So like, it's not really a baguette because it's none of those things.
Yeah.
We do have a similar kind of method that includes using a biga, which is actually like an Italian baking method.
Okay.
And yeah, until somebody nobody can tell me that it's not Bastogne bread, right? And that like makes me feel happy with what we're doing, that like, we're reintroducing this bread that I grew up eating, and like, I know a lot of people like that I grew up with would be familiar with
Yeah.
it, but like, otherwise just doesn't really exist.
Is the structure of the bread, do you feel like it's important to like making sure that your sandwiches don't get soggy? Like with the kind of, I don't know, it feels sturdy,
It is sturdy,
but it's also the soft inside, you know?
like, you want for us, like, you want a good crusty, like, not you, I don't want to call it oily, but like, you know, if you were to take like a hot dog bun
Yeah.
and like dunk it in vinegar,
Yeah.
it would just turn into tissue paper.
Right.
You know, like, it would just be done.
Right.
If you take our Bastogne bread and dunk it into vinegar, like, she's sturdy, she's good. Like,
Yeah.
you could put it in the fridge, it's gonna be fine tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the last time I got a sandwich, I ate half at the spot, and then I saved the other half for like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 hours later. And it was still pretty much in that same state, like, which is fucking sick. Like, it's awesome because it's not like a sandwich you put in the fridge and it's soggy
Yeah.
hours later. You know?
Yeah, that's always the worst, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, this is gonna be great later, and it's just like, nah.
No,
You
it's
had your
not.
chance.
Yeah.
The window's closed
Yeah. Yeah.
now. What we actually like to do is, like, Sundays are my day off, so during the good weather, I'll go fishing with buds, and like, I'll pack sandwiches the night before,
Yeah.
and like, make them up, and like, we'll be out on the river, and like, you know, the sandwich was made like 20 hours ago, and everybody's like, oh, this sandwich is awesome. It's like, you should try when it's fresh. Like, thing's been sitting in the cooler
Yeah.
for a day.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's always great. But like, you're also on a river, like, you know, who knows how many beers in, just sun dumb. It's like, yeah, of course you're gonna like a sandwich. Like,
Yeah.
it could be way worse and still be great.
Are you pretty content with the cart kitchen?
Oh,
Like, do you see yourself ever wanting to expand into more of a brick and mortar, or is the cart like what you want it to be, or like, does it leave something to be desired for you, or like challenge you in a certain way of having to operate in such a tight space?
We would expand if the opportunity was right,
Yeah.
but like it has to be really right. Like, we're still learning what is important to us as a brand and as a deli, and like, where we're at within our community. And if we're gonna sacrifice one thing to gain another,
Yeah.
I can't. I can think of more reasons to hold out for the right opportunity than to rush into, just like, here we are, we're a deli, we're gonna sell more sandwiches if we do this.
Yeah.
But ideally, in a perfect world, we would love to be making more sandwiches. We'd love to be making more bread, love to do all that sort of stuff, and like we actively work towards it.
Yeah.
But until we're not giving up what I recognize a little bit as our identity and our foundation,
Yeah.
then like with cart's fine. The cart is kind of nice because it's like, I make the joke all the time, but it really is the first kitchen that I've ever worked in where everything works. Like there's no like janking the flat top. Like you don't have to like blow on the pilot in order to get it to go around. It's like everything just you go in, like you turn on the switches and it's like, all right, we're humming. We're good. That's kind of nice.
Yeah. And obviously if you had that brick and mortar opportunity, like I'm assuming that you would want it to be right in that same pocket of neighborhood so that you don't bail on the community that has sustained the thing.
I mean, why would I? Like why would I roll the dice on a different neighborhood when I know people are gonna walk?
Yeah.
And like maybe people will walk to the new place in the new neighborhood, but like maybe not too.
Yeah.
Like I know what I have. So like until I can lock that down, it's just like, ugh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Would you say the limitations of the cart then are just like the amount that you can produce?
Well, it's pretty wild. It's the limitations that we have in the cart are handling infrequencies in volumes of sales.
Yeah.
And I mean, like every food place does. Like you don't have a crystal ball to tell you how much to make for tomorrow. You kind of just gotta shoot from the hip and pray for the best.
Yeah.
Pray is a weird word. I wouldn't say pray. Hope for the best, but but like at the same time, if things do go sideways, like selling out, I wouldn't say is a best case scenario. I don't like selling out. I don't like people coming to the cart and like not getting a sandwich. Like a lot of people get it and they're like, "Oh, good for you. That's a great problem to have, man."
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like,
For sure.
I would be, peeved. Like, I wouldn't throw a tantrum. Like some people have thrown tantrums, but like I wouldn't throw it. Like, I don't think it's that bad. But like I do get genuinely upset. And so like we do try to avoid selling out the best we can. But at the same time, like if I end up with like 100 loaves of bread the next day, it's like, well, I can't serve it.
Yeah, that's
like
no good.
we bake all of our bread fresh. Like
Yeah.
that's, so having plans for that and like knowing what to do with overages and like being able to kind of keep a pulse on like the next day's floodgate and like if you have to pull food up or having a plan for bread. Like bread turns into breadcrumbs. We use breadcrumbs every which way in the cart. If anybody ever needs some free breadcrumbs, we probably got them too. But like we're getting much better at that, and that gives me the confidence to produce more food, knowing that it's not going to be wasted no matter what.
Yeah.
Like we'll always have a plan B. And we'll always be able to go through it because like even food banks, which is like a great thing, but like St. John's Food Share, they said their their number one donation is bread.
Yeah.
And like
they don't need it anymore.
It's coming from Ken's Artisan. So like, well, who am I? Like, I'm like, there's no way. Anybody, like, it's like I'm just doing that for myself at that point. You know, like I feel good. I'm donating food. It's like, yeah, but Ken's. You know?
Kenny's already got the food bank bread market cornered.
And like you can't donate a lot of like the fresh food just from like a food safety handling perspective. You know, and we can only eat so many goddamn meatballs, so that's we're getting better at it. It's not perfect, but like that's the hurdle to the next step is like being able to, like, because we have the labor force. Big shout out Greg. He's holding it down there right now. Like, he is the reason why I'm able to be here. Greg's the nighttime sandwich artist.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, Greg.
But like between him and I, like we can crank out so much food. It's like he's a super hard worker. He's like experienced in the industry, and like he approached me and was like, dude, do you need a guy in there or what? I'm like, fucking come on in, pal. And he's locked in, and it's like, it's great. We work well together. He cares about what he does. Like that's why he like approached the cart and was just like, you know, into this, whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Put me to good use here. And it's like, dude, I was honored when that happened. And
I mean, it's so rad when you find somebody like that that comes to you.
You have
like,
no idea.
You didn't put the help wanted sign out. It was just like,
oh, I've had it, like, but like, you know, I took it down for a long time because I was just so bummed.
Yeah.
And like, I've had people in there who have worked there, and like I've appreciated everything they've done, and like I don't have any ill will except for like maybe one dude who dinked my knife, but like outside of that, everybody's like, they showed up, they worked, they did their best, and like eventually it just like, you know, they decided that it wasn't for them, and it was like, cool, that's you know, we're all moving forward here. And like, you know, as an employer, you lose money on that sort of stuff because like we're not paying minimum wage. We're not paying much more than minimum wage, but like we're not paying the lowest amount allowed by law. And they all, like, I don't make minimum wage yet, so they're all making way more than me. So like, you know, it hurts when you have an employee, you know, basically do what they need to do, like show up, be like, I got to pay my rent, I'm going to do the work. It's like, man, it's just not quite enough. I appreciate it, but like, we're all trying to win here, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I just got, I don't know, a little gun shy from it. So like, I stopped trying to hire for a while. And then like Greg came along, I was like, we'll give it a shot, you know? Like I believed him. Like, I believed that he was going to be dedicated, and like the fucking dude is, it's great.
Hell
so
yeah.
like between him and I'm confident that we could like produce however much food we would want to, you know, like the ethic is there, the production methods are there, but I guess like the sales strategy isn't really there. And with like the food that we're making, that like some of it has like a 10-hour shelf life, you know, like we make it and it's got to sell, otherwise we're stuck with it.
yeah.
The sales plan has got to be figured out a little bit. So like we're both really excited to see what this summer's going to be like.
Yeah. How long have you been open now?
It's a little over a year. September 2023.
Do you attribute the success just towards everything we've been talking about as far as like the intentionality and just trying to know your neighborhood?
I think the neighborhood is a huge piece of our success for sure. Like I said, like there were people just stopping by, being fans, and like, you know, we're just gonna support you, you know, and like that's such a wild feeling. Like you know, people talk about that sort of stuff, and like I hope anybody who's seeking that feeling gets to experience it, because like it really is pretty gosh dang incredible. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's awesome. Like the whole, not just like the block, but like the entire community. Brian from the Lombard House is probably like, he's like within our top 3 sales people for 2024, you know, and like he doesn't have to, but he tells people, like his patrons, like the Lombard House is a solid, you've been, yeah.
I have not. Actually.
Oh, dude,
yeah.
it's like the perfect place to get like a good living room beer.
Okay.
You know, like it's like it's a nice, small, cozy bar, but
Okay.
it's not like cozy might not be the right word. I don't. It's unique, and it's like it's outstanding beer. Brian's been a part of like the Portland beer scene for longer than I've been in Portland, but it's just solid place. And like he tells his patrons about me and our cart, and it's like, dude, you don't have to choose that, but like you don't have to choose to do that, but you're making such a tremendous impact on my
Right.
business,
Right.
because like now, like this person who you've identified as, you know, probably a good person and like a loyal customer and somebody who like stands up for independent business, is now going to check my place out, and then they're going to tell their friends, and like he does it, like he still does it, like he's salesman of the year 2025 could be in his reach if he just, you know, pushes a little extra harder.
Vouching hard for Picones.
Yeah, nah, it's great. And like it's not just the Lombard House that does it. It's like, you know, there's a good handful of just independent business support that, I don't know. I don't want to say we rely on. I like to think that we can stand up for ourselves pretty well, but we would not be the same company that we are today without it, you know, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, anybody I talk to that lives in that general area is just like, oh, yeah, that's the spot to get sandwich. Like, that is the spot.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Oh, man. Let them know free chips whenever they sell a sandwich for me. That's the deal.
That's awesome, dude. Do you feel like you see a lot of like growth within yourself, just even as a person, since taking this on? Like things that you wouldn't have
100%.
anticipated from
Still a piece of
opening
shit.
this business?
Way less of a piece of shit though, and it's great. I get to enjoy what I do, which is like in and of itself a tremendous growth milestone.
Lot different from being a ring salesman.
Dude, I'd like, if you could ask me as a third grader, it's like, hey, what do you want to make sure you never have to do in your life? Like, oh man, I never want to sell O-rings traveling. Like that just sounds like I've always known it, and then like I ended up doing it, and wears you down.
Yeah.
So to 180 flip from that, and like I'm making food, I'm making my own food, and like I'm connecting with people is like, hell yeah, you know, like that's great. And like especially like being involved in the community in my neighborhood is like something that I actively work on, and like I identify as like personal growth. It's something I've always wanted to do, and like now I just have the means to do it, so that's great. And yeah, just like learning about business and like what I want to do as a business and be as a business, and like looking at all these other like I said, like companies and people like Lombard House, like Kim Jong Grill, and even Lombardo's across the street, like the dude helped me out for like the first 6 months. He didn't have to. It's just like being a good dude, and like learning, like growing into like those people who I look up to now. It's like I'm not those people yet, but like now that I know how I want to impact people with my business, and I have these, role models, maybe a bit of a strong term, but like you get what I'm saying. Like,
the people that inspire you to operate the way that you're trying to, and like especially, and when you see people that have been successful in taking a risk like you have on this food cart, this thing that you've never done before, really.
Yeah.
And you get to know these other people doing that. I mean, it's part of the reason I wanted to have you come in here today and just like bullshit about this stuff, and like talk about what you're doing. Is like, it's inspiring to me, as somebody that's like trying to like tread water and doing, what I'm doing independently, and like kind of, doing a handful of things to like, make it all work. But it's
have you tried buying more expensive olive oil? Because I'm telling you, dude, game changer.
That'd be so sick if I just had like a stock of expensive oil here, and that was like the thing. Like,
that's all you needed to do.
100,000 views every episode after he got that fucking more expensive olive oil.
Dude, I'm rooting for you. Like I got some great recommendations for you.
But just getting to even be close to that stuff, or like becoming friends with Mel from Sandwich, and
dude, that podcast was awesome. That was like, I'm really into what you're doing here. Like,
appreciate it.
I think I wish I dove more into the music catalog before I got here, but like once I saw that Mel had a podcast up, like I look up to Sandwich a lot, and like Mel has an awesome story, and like I knew she was a good person just from like, the fabric she leaves in the community of people who cook. Like, no, it's cool. So like having access to like a conversation with her, and like realizing like, oh yeah, she is cool. Hell yeah. Like that's awesome. And hearing more about the Sandwich story, and like even her history as a kid is just like, it was a good listen. It was so like I'm pretty amped to see who else you can get in here, man. Like who else who's on the list? Who are you thinking about bringing in? Like without like, putting too many spoilers out there, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the food world is like pretty interesting to me right now.
Hell yeah.
And I just like would like to have more like chefs / restaurant owners in general.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, who doesn't love food? And it's just
Fair.
like, I've kind of, there's still a lot of like local Portland artists that I haven't had on here that I would love to have on. But like this, I don't know, having so many of those people on over the years has like allowed me to forge friendship. Not that like every person that comes in here I end up being like friends with necessarily.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it like makes me more, it's cool when I run into them in the city and like we're a little more familiar with each other. But the amount of friendships that I like, genuine friendships with people that like I hang out with regularly that are like my favorite Portland musicians.
Hell
like
yeah,
it's
dude.
pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
So like if I can start to do that, in the food world a little bit, or like, I don't know, it's going to feel different next time I come to your food cart to me, that we've gotten to hang out for a couple hours outside of your world,
Fair. Yeah. Yeah.
And so like, if I can keep doing that with more and more people outside of the music world, I think that's a win when it feels like everybody's a part of your community in some way.
That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
it's changed my relationship with the musicians that I go and see play. And when I'm like, oh, like I actually know that person, and
Yeah.
it feels different when I support them. To me, I don't know.
Do you have any like greater purpose you're trying to achieve with the podcast as far as like what you want listeners to tune into or to take away from, or like just trying to get, you know, like I said, like for me, it like I have a curiosity about people who own food businesses, and I
Yeah.
think that it's awesome. But is there like a picture you're trying to paint with these types of guests?
You know, I think it's just hopefully getting to take this time to like celebrate these people in some way, you know, or just like getting to have the in-depth conversation, and hopefully, you know, hopefully I've done enough of these where I'm like facilitating a good conversation. Like I'm asking questions that create not just like an interview environment, but like a conversation in some way,
Yeah.
you know? So I think that's the goal, is to like host a good interview, can facilitate a good conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I mean, especially, you know, there's also just like not, I don't know what the press world is like in the food world, but we don't like, I don't think that there's like a ton of outlets to do this sort of thing where you get to hear an hour to 2 hour conversation with people that are maybe like doing something on a local level. Like it's always great when I get to have like a band that I've like loved for the last like 20 years, like somebody that comes on the show that's not just a local. But I think it's also important for, you know, I can learn just as much from the local artist that's been doing it for 20 years as I can from the person that's gotten to do it on maybe some sort of rock star level. Like those people have experiences to share, or, you know,
Totally.
a process in which they do things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's just, you know, continuous. I'm trying to, you know, scratch the curiosity itch too. And I'm just always like typically I'm pretty inspired by getting to hear about people's process, or like what their ideas are around their successful business or their successful art, or what has just like driven somebody to keep doing their thing, you know, or like what inspires somebody to take a risk in their early 30s to open up a food cart.
Now we're getting there.
Yeah.
Don't stop here, man. Like keep digging. Like you found it. Like you found the channel. Here's the goal. Keep getting it. Like this, like inspiration. Like hearing how people are inspired and like what they're curious about. Like that's just, you know, that should interest anybody.
Yeah.
You know, like unless you're a complete egomaniac, like you think nobody's better than yourself, and you have no reason to listen to a podcast. But like, you know, like the things that like I could take away from your podcast with Mel, like just, you know, like I'll never, the way that she interviews people, and like you know, she asks, what would you do when you're in the weeds? And like when I'm listening to that, like I'm, you know, it's like 4:30 in the morning. I'm making dough. I'm chilling. I'm having a good time. I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And like I already have the answer in my head. Like, you don't take shortcuts. That's the answer, right? And it's like she walks through, and like she like some of her interviewees are like, oh, you know, I do this, that, and like I did like, and then like one person says like, well, I just take a deep breath and I focus and like I just care. It's like, hell yeah, dude. And then like that's when you have like that like connection of like, you know, whatever's inspiring this person I'm listening to is like inspiring me, you know? And like it drives that, you know, makes me want more, have more Mels on here, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think that's the other thing that I've always tried to ride hard for, is to like continue to bring people on that I can like genuinely speak about their thing.
Right.
Like, I'm not inviting you here if I don't think that you're making great sandwiches or something, you know?
Right.
You know, like
Thank
the
you.
people I invite, like musically, to come on, it's like their music resonates with me, or I just like really respect their musicianship or their artistry, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's like, oh, cool. I got to like have you over here, and I just got to like learn so much more about your food cart, and like just even, I don't know. I think it's fucking rad that like a part of your thought process was like, how do I make something that's going to hit hard for my parents and like not be too far removed from that, or like finding those avenues of nostalgia, or you even having that experience with the buttered roll the other day, you know? It's like, that's rad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I feel
that's
that.
what's like, I don't know, informed your whole lens for what you're doing. So,
And is informing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's the nebulous, you know, just keeping up with it.
yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's like a good recommendation that I can think of to like, you know, see if you have connected or like want to connect with them. Are you like trying to keep it sandwich themed, food
No.
themed? Just
Not necessarily. It's like,
just
I think it's
starting
like
right
all
off the bat.
forms of like artistry or like restaurant owner, you
Yeah.
know, people that are like have their small businesses, people that have bet on themselves in some way
Word.
to like bounce outside of the norms of like getting the 9 to 5, which also respect to that too. If like that keeps you inspired and like you can keep saying doing that, you know. But I don't know. It's been such a wild trip bouncing outside of that myself that
yeah.
it's, you know, it's kind of like changed and unlocked everything. I mean, and I might have to go get a job one day again in the workforce. Who
Dude,
knows?
Washing dishes pays $20 an hour, man.
Hey,
So come on over.
you know?
It's the boss is a real jerk, but you know, the perks are good.
What, just to like close out, what is like one of your go-to places in Portland, like where you can always get a consistent meal, or like what is that thing that always hits the spot for you?
Oh man, I don't know how I didn't see this question coming. That's
You can name
like,
a
this-
few. It doesn't have to be
No,
just one.
like I didn't even think about this for a second. Like this is, god damn it. That's wild. I'm gonna do the Scandinavian thing and silently reflect.
Yeah, you can-
for as long as I think necessary.
You
here.
silently reflect.
I definitely like Lombardo's pizza hits home. Like,
Okay.
it is good pizza.
All right.
It's he calls it New Jersey style pizza, and like to me it's just pizza, you know.
Yeah. But is there like a piece of like, can you feel that nostalgia? Like when you go get Lombardo's, are you like, oh, this tastes like home?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if I were to stumble across that place in the wild, I'd probably rave about it and be like,
Yeah.
oh, you got to try this place out. But like, it's right across the street from me. I know Bob. I consider him a friend. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, thanks for the pizza, man.
Yeah.
Keep up the good fucking work.
Hell yeah.
You're great. You know?
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, I do love a good burrito. Like give me a good machaca burrito. We got a couple good spots in North Portland to get those.
Okay.
I'm not gonna name them because that's like you can't. They're already busy enough.
Okay. All right. That's
But, like,
great.
Beto's is definitely like very good. Beto's Taquiera in
Okay.
St. John's. They have a machaca burrito there.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
All right. I respect you not wanting to blow up these spots.
I can't, dude. It's been blown up before. I don't need to do that to them.
Were you around for the era of Staniches, which maybe
I've
have
heard
like
of-
opened up again?
Yeah. They're around. Yeah.
But like they you know, just like a real dive that
Yeah.
was like doing these banging cheeseburgers, and then they got like recognized on some like influencer list
Oh no.
of like 50 best cheeseburgers in the United States.
Oh.
It like fucked things up for them.
Dude, that's Tulip Shop, man.
Like they
Have
got
you?
oh, dude, the Tulip Shop. Yeah,
They're fucking rad though.
dude, that
they're
burger
great.
is great. But yeah, there's definitely you got to go to that place like on off hours if you want
Yeah.
to get food at a reasonable rate, which respect. But Stanich is like it like fucked up their business because I think they got a lot of attention and maybe like it was found that things were not like maybe up to code because this was like like a deep long running establishment.
Nobody
and it,
likes that.
And it just kind of like I think it kind of ruined things. So
Yeah, well,
it happens.
I mean, I don't have sympathy for that. Like people tell me about like, oh, they went to their favorite bar or like a bar that everybody said was really good last night and they got food poisoning. It's like, dude, report them. They should not be in the fucking food business. Like fucking, there's people out here busting their ass. They're working really long days, fucking making all these sacrifices. And this popular ass piece of shit is raw dogging the chicken into the salt. Like fucking get them out. Like fucking shut them down.
Shut them down. Shut them down.
Maybe that's like a little too hard of a line to draw, but
you just don't like you don't.
I think like food and health safety regulations are a very important thing that I take very seriously, and now's a great time to be very vocal about them. And like, if you like them, you gotta unfortunately keep to work them around right now, which is fucking horseshit. That's just like the craziest goddamn thing I can imagine. But
yeah, it's important.
Yeah, dude, fucking take food and health regulations seriously if you're gonna make a career out of it.
Yeah, agreed.
It's fucked. So yeah, rest in power, I guess. You know?
Hell yeah, dude. What's your favorite midnight meal that you make at home?
Midnight, dude. You think I'm up at midnight? The fuck?
What's your favorite like late night meal? What's the quick thing that you
fucking love me a nice bowl of granola in a coffee cup with a fill it up with milk, and I'm just like chugging that thing down, just no spoon sometimes.
Yeah.
That's like pretty top tier.
Okay.
Whew. I don't know if it's gonna get better than that now that I think of it. Like now I'm just thinking of different kinds of granola. But like hard crunchy cereal.
This guy loves cereal.
Gotta have the oats in there.
Yeah. You ever fuck with just dry oats with some like brown sugar?
I haven't.
Well, I mean, with the like milk.
Yeah, no.
I went through like a
to?
pretty heavy phase of that.
Oh, fascinating.
And I was just like, oh man, I think I just like really love oats with some brown sugar.
Turns out you're just a horse. Dude.
Yeah, just some oats with some brown sugar, and it's money.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I worked at FH Steinbar, which is like a homebrew store for a while, and there's like a big ingredient for beer is malt, which is like it's the partially germinated thing of a thing. I don't know, but like you cook it and like some of the sugars get caramelized. So like basically what I'm saying is like picture the best fucking oatmeal you've ever had, and like I would just be filling up bins and like taking like just a little handful, like not a lot, like you can't really digest it, but like pop a couple in.
Yeah,
it's great. It's oaty. It's like sweet, chocolatey. Some of them are like vanilla-y, and like there's just 300 different kinds. So like I feel you on the oats.
I'll take those oats with like cold milk over warm oatmeal any day.
Oh, I gotta try.
It'll like get, I don't know. You
right.
start like thinking about the kinds of oats that you're buying. Can't even just be like the regular Quaker oats. Like you're
those aren't gonna do it.
You're just like over at Bob's Red Mill looking at all the different oats that they have, and the steel cut versus the the thickness, and there's all kinds of shit about oats that I didn't need to know about, but I do.
If there's one thing I like to do, it's a deep dive on grains. So here I go.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, thanks for being down to jump on the mics with me.
Incredible.
It was super fun to like get to know you in this way, and just to get to hear about how shit started and where it's at now, and just wish you more and more success over at the cart. And
thanks, dude.
Seems like it's chugging along pretty well, and like I said, anytime I bring it up, like people
Oh,
either
that's so
already
fucking
know
awesome,
about it, or they're just like, oh yeah, I've been like trying to get over
That's
to
so
North
fucking cool,
Portland.
dude. That's like, I mean, if there's like one like my main goal coming in here was like, like I said, like I'm not trying to get blown up on the radar. I'm not trying to like promote myself really. Like I wanted to come here and like try to express gratitude for where we've gotten to as a cart, and like that's why I want to throw up the names like Yovu Beer and Lombard House and Han and Lombardo, like all these people that, and like the people who have been coming back and buying our food. Like I'm just so grateful and thankful for where we're at. And like I personally, I don't know what sort of accreditation Tuna Boy has internationally, but like I feel like I've got like a core of people who are gonna like see this podcast and be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna listen to this, because like they just support, and I want them to know that I want to say thank you for that. Like I want to use this platform to like just make sure that my gratitude is just crystal clearly expressed, and like thank you too, dude, for like picking me out and trying the tuna sandwich.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, yeah, it's a goofy and fun thing to do.
Yeah, I
this
think
whole Tuna Boy endeavor, and it's like, yeah, just another thing that's like brought me closer to the people that's like I fuck with what they're doing, and
hell yeah.
like, yeah, and yeah, like I said, just from off the jump, it just seemed like you were, I don't know. There was just like, I could see the passion in what you were doing the first day I met you, when you were like, oh, let me tell you about the tuna, and like, let me tell you about how we're making the sandwich. And like, I don't know, there's something about that strikes a chord in a way that also like didn't feel like you were trying to put on just because you knew that I was like going to probably review this tuna sandwich.
No, like I didn't even
was,
give a shit about that.
It was kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, it was just cool that you were down to like tell me so much about it. And
the biggest thing that I've ever learned, like biggest single lesson I've ever learned in customer service, it came from the Floodland Brewery in Seattle, and it was on their FAQ page. And the last FAQ was like some bullshit question, like, why is your website HTML? And the answer is, it's not all about you. And like, it's become somewhat of a trope in this day and age. Like, you can get your like shitty customer service anywhere. It's like, well, this, I'm gonna blah, 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 blah. But like, learning that those years ago was like, that flipped the switch for me. It's like, yeah, nobody's gonna laugh at me for being passionate about tuna. Like if they do, then fuck them. Like, I'm gonna sell I'm gonna sell a tuna sandwich the way I want to sell it. And like, if you told me 5 years ago that it would have landed as hard as it does now, it's like, no way, dude. Like, you can't do that. You gotta work for the man if you're ever gonna make a living. You know?
Yeah.
So,
no, I think the passion is coming through, and it's I would undoubtedly attribute that to the success that you're having a year or so into, or like, these people that keep showing up in your neighborhood to support your cart, like they're showing up because they like enjoy the food, and that's most likely because you are like passionate about what you're making.
That's, I guess, like my point, and like this probably should get edited out, but like, it's, I'd be doing it with or without him. But it's like it is like just as much for me as it is, for anybody else. Which is,
I think it should be too.
Yeah,
I think that's like how you keep something going.
That might be the ticket, is like, finding like being able to find what it is that you want to express, and then unapologetically finding ways to express it. You know?
I mean, I would most likely want to have this sort of conversation with you on or off the mics
For sure.
You know?
100%, dude. Like,
know?
that's why I'm not wearing the headphones, dude. Like, this is just a track for me.
I mean, I think the mic like brings, and knowing that we're like recording definitely like try it, in some way like provides some structure or like wants me to like create some flow to it for sure. And maybe it would like be a little different off of the mics because I know that we're like trying to accomplish something maybe like within a couple hours span, but like
Sure.
that, yeah, it's the same shit. It's like, yeah, I would be curious about these things, whether we're recording or not recording,
Totally.
because it's goes back to it just like kind of being that inspiring thing or like just a general curiosity of like, oh, how did you get to this point in your life, Vin?
Dude.
Thanks for hanging.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you people from the East Coast, I think, are making some sandwiches that are sometimes on another level. I think I said that in the video that I made for Picones, and somebody in the comments was just like, "Oh, why don't you just go back to the fucking East Coast?" Then I'm like, I'm not from the East Coast. I'm from the West Coast.
That's
I just think it's hilarious when people are like that, and they're just like, it's like the go back to your country shit. It's just like so out of pocket, and I was just like, listen, buddy, it's not my fault that I think Vin, who is from Jersey, and this fella Brad, about 9th and Fitz.
Dude, I have connected with Brad via Instagram. 9th and Fitz was like very insidious. Like, there's people who can make bread and put sandwiches. That sandwich,
Dude, that's
this
another
was,
dude.
This was like still fucking O-ring salesman days.
Yeah.
Like, people can do this. Fucking A, dude.
Yeah,
Like, I'm embarrassed that I wanted to make sure that I had a 9th and Fitzwater sandwich before I got on here so that I can give them a heartfelt plug, but like I didn't, so I'm fucking sorry, dude.
Hey,
I'll
tough
get there
hours
as soon
over
as
there,
I can.
Brad. Hey, you're running tough hours over there. Sometimes we can't get a sandwich between 4 and 9,
Oh, man, yeah.
But that's like another dude that's from the East Coast that's just like knocking it out of the park.
Just Philly, so
Crazy
whatever,
shit, Vin, we end every episode of the podcast with the guest saying the tagline for the show, which is "It's a program."
Tuna boy back in action.
Tuna boy back in action.
Oh yes.
I haven't said that in a while. I need to get back on my game, actually.
gotta get back in action, dude.
It's the tagline is "It's a program." It means nothing. It's just the way my grandfather says the word program. He always says program instead of program.
But it's a program.
Yeah. So yeah, if we can get the Vin Picones, it's a program. Vin Picone.
You want me to just state my
You
name?
say no. You could just deliver out. You could deliver however you would like. Just it's a program.
I think I got it. I think that was the one take.
Okay. Good.
I'll give you another one. It's a program.
He nailed it, everybody. That's Vin. He's got a lovely food cart called Picones
Hell yeah,
over in North Portland. It fucking rules. The sandwiches are banging, and it's worth the trip if you don't live in that neighborhood. Take yourself over there. Maybe you get a breakfast sandwich. I don't know. That's next on my list. I haven't had the breakfast sandwich yet. I'm trying to see what one of these rolls are about. I've had the tuna. I've had the Italian. All I needed to make a great judgment on what's happening over there. But yeah, Picones. I'll put the Instagram in the in the episode notes and other ways to find out about Picones. So yeah, that's the thing. That's the Jelly Jams, and we will catch you on the flip side, Portland, or wherever you are listening from.
All right, I'm gonna get some sleep.
Yeah, you go get some sleep. Past your bedtime, dude.
Just about.